here, and today I'm sitting in Epsom, which is in Surrey in the UK, with spiritualist healer and psychic medium Tony Jackson.
Hi.
So, Tony, as a psychic medium and a healer, when was the first time that you figured out that you had this ability? Your first valid experience?
Well, I don't know how valid it is. When I was a child, I was quite a strange child, I suppose.
Really?
Weirdly enough. My parents always used to open doors and I'd be behind them in the dark. It never worried me being in the dark as a child. And I didn't realise then, but I used to look into mirrors and see other people looking back at me. It was in semi-darkness, and I used to walk around the house, when the lights were out, I used to just walk around, I suppose, being naughty because no one wanted to go to bed. And I was about 10, 11, 12 maybe. And I'd look into these mirrors and my face, what I felt would transform. And that was the starting of it. And I then, it came to me in quite vivid dreams, when my uncle died. My father was quite into it as well. And as I said earlier, I was always aware of my grandmother looking after me when she died. I mean, virtually a week after she died, I knew she was there with me, which was a very strong feeling. And these things I've had for many years. And it was very strange for me because it wasn't the world I wanted to be in. I was in the world of drinking with my friends, playing rugby, and doing everything like jocks would do. Yeah. And this didn't come into it. So it was quite a weird thing for me. And I got into it, but it was like I had two lives, I have the life where I play rugby and all my friends are there, and I have the life where I do a lot of spiritualism, which it's unusual for me. It's not a thing I grasped, like everyone else. I'm always there as very tentative. I'm quite one pace back. I like to watch it all, and I always like to make sure whatever I'm doing is true, and whatever readings I give, I always double check, which everyone says, oh, you shouldn't do, they should let go with the flow. But I am always proving to myself as well as other people when I'm giving my readings. So every time I give a reading, I get stronger. If you understand that.
That's called giving the right evidence.
This is true, yeah, because it's so easy to give the wrong evidence. And we're in a business where people really come to us when they have a problem. You never get people that are like, oh, I'm not a problem in the world, but I want to find out. It's always people that, have lost someone or they've lost their way and they're looking for someone that's not there anymore to help them. And this is where we come in as a sort of a psychic telephone, basically, which you've probably heard before.
Yeah, I heard psychic telephone, yeah.
And I'm just the operator. You've got to speak to me to get to the others.
That's right.
And and if I get anything wrong, then I feel I've done the people that are looking a disservice, as opposed to as well as me giving me a disservice because I'm not doing it right.
But it's not like, okay, so you're, so say you're the operator, you connect with spirit. It's not like, oh, I want to speak to my mom. It's not like she's going to be there.
No,
it's whoever is there on the other end
that
wants to deliver a message.
Spirit are always aware, the people that look after you are always aware when you've got a problem. Yes. And they usually send the best person for that problem. In all the years I've been doing it, it's always, when I'm talking about people, I mean, from the basics, you're always learning. You describe the person, and then if they can get it, then you give the person the message from that person. And I found all the years I've been doing it that the person that they give me is pertinent to what's happening in that man, in the man or woman's life that's come to see me. Right. Yeah. If they have, like they could have 3 relatives, dead relatives, and it could be one could be an office worker, one could be a manual labourer, and one could be a CEO of a company, or had been. And if they're in trouble, maybe money or organising things, and the CEO may be good. If they're, you know, if they're in trouble with stuff around the house, I said maybe it's the guy that's handy with his hands, you know, the manual worker. I mean, this is, and I've found it all seems to fall into place very much like that.
Yeah, that makes sense. And
that's what happens. You don't always get your mum or your dad.
No, you don't.
But sometimes you don't usually get your family. It's someone you sort of met, you know, for a few occasions, and they're just there for you.
So, just backtracking, so your dad was a medium as well?
No. My father was very much into spiritualism.
Okay.
And he followed it, well, all around London. He used to go to the HQ in Victoria, and he used to go to Wimbledon, and this is where, this is how I turned up at Wimbledon when Derek was running it.
Yeah.
Derek and I had a great relationship together, and he started me off on the proper road. You know, I used to go to circles there, and I then started my healing at the church.
You had a spiritualist healing.
Yeah, and took my exams, and I used to do Thursdays and Tuesday nights, I believe. And then...
how long did that take, the course?
Well, it was over a year, really. You know, I slowly dropped into it, and then I started doing it at the church.
Right.
And I must admit, it made me feel really good. And it made me feel better, you know, to help other people, because it's something you don't do, you know.
Right.
We all got our own lives, and we all sort of ferret away, and we never actually look up to see if anyone else is there. It's straight ahead sort of thing. Yeah. So it was nice. It was a nice thing. It felt a nice thing for me to do, to look up and see what's around me for a change.
So you started with the spiritualist healing,
yeah,
and then did you develop your mediumistic abilities more?
Yeah. Well, I was always going to circle there. I started.
Was that at the same time?
Yeah. Okay. I started with a lady called Jackie Jenkins, who was absolutely brilliant, and she had a fantastic circle, a very strong circle. Yeah. And that's where my first meeting there. I'd never been to a proper circle. I've been to open circles and done very well. And I got to this proper circle, and there's all these people that are very strong mediums. And I remember sitting there, and I remember Jackie saying, right, everyone put their energy onto Tony, and let's see if we can get a message. And all of a sudden, I felt my whole back open. And I got very frightened, because it's something I hadn't felt before, because I'd just done it gently by myself in the mirror throughout the years. And all of a sudden, I'm getting this huge feeling, because in some ways that's how spirit enters you. And I suddenly got this feeling which I didn't like, and so I closed myself down really quickly, which is my fault, because I should have embraced it, but instead I got very worried. This is things, you know, you live and learn as you go along. But that was my first sort of experience in a circle. But
didn't that, you know, when spirit comes in, doesn't it feel like love, or how does it feel?
Well, yeah, it feels like an old friend, you know, chatting to an old friend, but they have to get there first. And I think, you know, they try out all different things and see what's happy with you, because you can always say, no, I don't think this is right. And then they'll try another area. But that certainly wasn't right for me at the time. But it was, you know, it was an experience. And in some respects, I wish they'd do it again, if you know what I mean, because I'm prepared for that now. But when I was in the circles, I was doing healing anyway. Yeah. And it became very easy to me, and it's a different way of opening up and doing things, but you know, I used to get tinglings in my hands and the heat and everything, and you know, it was very easy for me to do that. And then from that, you know, I went on to my mediumship. You know, they always say you shouldn't give messages while you're healing, and I think
really,
well, yeah, I mean, you shouldn't really, because it's two different things. You know, you shouldn't be giving messages.
But you can give them afterwards, though.
Well, you can, yeah. I mean, well,
if you remember.
Yeah, well, one respect, a woman came to us, and she never said what was wrong with her, and she said, you know, I'd like some healing. And it's like, fine. And we started, you know, we opened up, and then there's 2 or 3 of us there. And I had the head, which I always do, and everyone else, we just didn't lay hands on, we laid hands on her aura. And I was by the head, and I kept getting this nagging chat in my head from someone. I was like, clear it, right, mustn't do that, mustn't give messages, and I'm doing healing, and it kept going, and it's a persistent nagging. And in the end, you just go, all right, I'll tell. And then I turned to her and I said, look, I've just got this little couple of lines for you, and I don't know what it means, but if you can take it, just take it, and I'll be very happy. And I said that what it is sometimes we're so busy living, we're so afraid of dying, we're too busy to live.
Yes. And
I said, I don't know what it means, but they just gave me that. And she said, oh, I come here because I'm so frightened of dying, and it's become a real problem with me, and it's making me depressed and all that. And I didn't know that until after the meeting when she said that, and I just thought, oh, that's one of the things when I suppose with healing, because healing's always with words as well. You don't have to lay your hands on someone. You can talk to people and heal them in many ways, and it's it just shows you. Then it wasn't really, I wasn't giving her a reading. I was telling her something pertinent to her illness, or whatever you like to call it, her problem, and that was it. And that's why it was so persistent with me, and it was banging on my head, saying, you've got to say it. And it's like, no, and I was being very good at the time, going, no, clear it away, and it came back, and no, clear it away, and it's just, in the end, you have to say it. And that just proves that you've got to listen. You've got to listen to Spirit, and some of us forget to sometimes. We're all so busy going through our stuff. It's like, I always say, it's auto-babble. When I start working, I consider it auto-babble, because I get the original message and the pictures and all that, and then after that I just open up and talk. Yeah. And then what I say is the message. Yeah. Normally, if you don't understand that, it's not sort of written down in front of me, and I don't have someone whispering in my ear. It just comes in. Yeah. And it just comes in. And that's how I get my messages. That's how I work. It's obviously different for everyone else. But
yeah, it is. So do you also get your guides coming through?
Yeah. In the same way. I know they're there, I can feel them, and I know their voices, but I don't hear their voices with the message. It's just coming out of me. It just comes, and that's how I work. My father is one of my helpers, and he's always there. He's got a very distinctive voice. I know it's him when he's around, and I apparently, I've been told, I haven't talked to him about it, but he's there. There's an Austrian surgeon who's one of my my guides, and I've been told, and I have had him a couple of times come to me, but I've been told I got an Indian, which is great because everyone's got an Indian, but I got an Indian. He does this, which is 2 feathers. He's always got 2 feathers down. And that's how I know it's him, when someone says, oh, I got 2 feathers, and they do that, and I know who it is. I don't know why, but they always do that. And as soon as they do that, I know it's the same person. Oh. And that's another person, another one I've got. But they tend to change, for different years or different dates. Yeah. I don't have the same person all the time.
No, but it's like you have your life guide who is with you from birth to death, and then in between you have different guides coming in, or past loved ones coming in to assist you with whatever you need to learn, or whatever, how do you say that, wherever you are in your life.
Yeah, whatever's good for you at that moment in time.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, the Austrian surgeon, he's been with me since I started, and the Indian guide has only just sort of turned up. But I'm working in different ways, because you don't always work in the same way. When I first started, I was hearing voices. I was getting, not conversations. So I'd be giving them instruction, or something. I'd say India. I get this India, and it's like, where did that come from? And I say, and I've got India, and they say, oh yeah, no, that, and then they sort of start. You say, no, don't tell me anymore. Let me sort it out. But then I don't get that anymore. It just comes through me. I don't get the voices. And sometimes being lazy is quite nice to have a heads up.
It was yesterday, and I told you I went to this open circle with Graham Watson, and it's really weird because I do that automatic writing, but I'm just sitting there after this little meditation, and all of a sudden I get a name through. Silverhawk. my guide. That's one of my guides right now. Silverhawk, Native American Indian. Great. Don't know exactly what he does, but that's what I got. Mm. And I thought, wow, that's really nice to get a name.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's just telling you where he is.
Yeah.
And he's keeping you...
He's new, so yeah.
He's keeping you, just a little tap on the door.
Yeah.
Here I am.
Exactly.
Which is always nice. You don't always get things like that, which is good.
No.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just touching on, why do you do this? Why do you do this work?
Why? I think we sort of broached on it a little bit before. It's nice to help people. Plus, I find it a very interesting subject. It's something that's unusual to me. It's not part of my lifestyle. You know, Ashley and Ray, and I mean all the Robinsons. It's their life. You know, it's how they grew up. You know, they've seen it happen, and I didn't. You know, I grew up in a completely different area of film business and rugby and drinking and God knows what. All of a sudden, this sort of like spiritualism thing came along, which was like, well, what's that? And it's completely opposite to what I was doing, and I do find it a very interesting subject, and it's like I want to learn more and more about it. Yeah. You know, it's weird to say that as a medium, you know, you'd like to learn more, but I think this is one of these...
we learn every day.
Yeah, this is one of these things where every day it's different. Yeah. Every person you see is different. Every reading you give is different, and every time I work, there's always something different or something more that gets added that sort of spurs you on a bit, and you go, oh, I quite like that. That's interesting. But also, I've met so many great people, you know, throughout the time, you know, and these people are put in my path. Yeah. Like I went to Egypt. I told you about Egypt, and I'm sitting at a table and we're chatting away, and all of a sudden I meet this guy that does documentaries, psychic documentaries, and I couldn't believe it. I thought he was, you know, obviously heard from someone and sort of taking the mickey, and I said, really? And he said, no, I direct and produce these things. And he's given me a couple of his videos, which I love, and they're amazingly interesting. And you know, that's another thing. You know, every time I meet someone that's put in my path, which I'm supposed to meet, you know, and people that I know I've got to meet later on in my life. I mean, it's a really interesting subject. And plus, if you can help someone on the way, then that's another thing.
After endless fake ghost TV shows, here at last is a documentary that presents the real evidence.
Manu, are you there? Emily?
Yes.
Yes. Hello, Manu.
The experiments featured in this program have been described by the scientists who witnessed them as some of the best evidence for life after death ever.
We had 1,000 hours of continuous communication with the spirit world.
Be quiet, be quiet, be quiet. Marie.
For 5 years, the Skoll experiment continued to produce a vast range of extraordinary phenomena. More than in any other experiment in the history of the paranormal. It was witnessed by hundreds of visitors and monitored by a team of internationally renowned scientists and investigators.
I must stress, it changes your paradigm.
What they claim to have seen and recorded is so shocking that many will find it unbelievable.
The table levitated and began to spin very rapidly.
I'm not at all convinced that there is such a thing as life after death.
In the US, we put psychic Alison Dubois, the inspiration behind the hit TV show Medium, to the test. Could she communicate with one of the leading Skoll researchers after his tragic death?
Is there a doctor in the house?
And we meet this woman.
I'll just never be this age again.
She says she can pick up the voice of her dead son on this simple tape recorder. We also followed the Skoll group to Italy, where they conducted seances with Marcello Bacci, one of the world's most unusual mediums. For decades, grieving parents say they can talk to their dead children via his radio. Although the experiments featured in this program provide scientific evidence for the possibility of life after death, most of the public know nothing about them. This is the first time both the Skull Group and Bocce have allowed their work to be shown together in a TV documentary.
There has, in my view, never been anything like that at all, ever.
Isn't it sometimes difficult to deliver a message, though?
Sometimes, yeah. I think people forget that they have to be as open as you have to be.
That's right.
And, you know, if I close up, I don't give a proper message. You know, if I don't trust spirit, I can't, and I close up on something, I may miss something really important for you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it could be anything like, you know, they show you a picture of a biscuit tin. And you think, well, what's that about? I'm not hungry. So you forget, take the biscuit tin away. And that could be, you know, all I have to say to you is biscuit tin. And you go, oh my gosh, you know, that's what I just, you know, that's where I keep all my whatever. And, it, you know, and suddenly it's your message.
Yeah.
And if I leave that off, if I close myself down to that, then you don't get a proper message.
No.
But also on the other side, if you close yourself down slightly and won't accept what I'm giving you, you know, in a way, because some people do, they get a little bit frightened, or they're, you know, it's not part of their life. They don't, you know, they may not believe in life after death, or they may not believe in a third dimension, or whatever you want to call it, or heaven or hell. And they sort of say, well, that can't be right. You know, my father's dead. So he can't possibly be speaking. If you have that attitude, then I can't give you a proper reading, because you're always going to block it. You know, and like I said earlier to you, you know, if you're in a meeting, you turn around and say, oh, I've got a man here, and then you describe him, and everyone goes, no, I don't know what it is. I don't know who that is. Then afterwards they go, oh, yeah, that's exactly the same description as my blah blah. And it's like, well, you know, as I said to you, the man's knocked on the door and you've not opened the door.
No.
And now he's gone away, and in his life he'll come back tomorrow, but in your lifetime it may be 10 years.
That's
and
right.
It's like, you know, and I always try and explain this to people. I'm not being horrible to you, but you know, you really should say, if you feel that there's a message there somewhere for you, or if the person is with you, because I can either turn around and say, no, I'm not with you, I may be the lady behind, or the man behind, and it doesn't matter, you know, but you have to be open to it, and sort of put your hand up and say, oh yes,
that makes sense.
That's me.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, that's that question answered.
Yes, it is. Now, what does life mean to you?
To me,
sum it up.
Oh, life to me, I've had a great life. I've done so many things. I've been so many places. I mean, life to me is, I'll miss it. I'll miss it when it's my time to leave, but I'm sure I'll go somewhere even more interesting. But I love it. You know, I think it's great. You know, I'm just a bit sad the way it's going at the moment, because there are too many negative, I don't know what you could call them really, negative waves, as Moriarty would say. There's too many negatives in this world, and we should put more positives out. And, you know, world leaders, and the way we're driving our cars, you know, the way people are treating people in this country especially has changed over the years, and we've got to start, not by fighting, but we've got to stop people disrespecting each other and not even respecting themselves. I mean,
it's bad these days.
It is, and it's not only the youth, because we can always blame the youth. It's the older people as well, and the leaders. You know, our leaders don't seem to have respect for the people they're leading, and in turn we don't have respect for our leaders. And you know, it's all this disrespect and negativity that's going on. We have to push even more so with our positive feelings in whatever you do. It's got to be a positive, and try and keep the negatives as low as possible.
Well, I also think that there are other aspects to it. I mean, when I grew up, we didn't have mobile phones, no computers. You know, I played with my Barbie dolls, or a bite, or you know, played hopscotch and stuff like that with my friends. These days, everyone's on their mobile phone or their iPad. That's one thing. However, with all the negativity going on in the world, I also think maybe the Earth is in a transition period, and it's like a rebirthing.
Yeah, hopefully, but also, again, you know, you've mentioned the negatives of the phone and everything. The positives of that is that anywhere in the world, I can phone anyone I want.
That's true.
And talk to face to face with no problem at all. I can find out information any time of the day and night.
Yes, you can.
I can give out information any time of the day and night. And now, you know, like eBay, if you want something,
you can buy it. You
can look down, and no matter how weird and rare it is, you can look down and find it.
Yes.
And also, if you want to sell that weird and
You
rare
can.
thing, you can. And that's what spiritualism is about. You know, if you want to look up about spiritualism and find the proper mediums, it's there, all for us to look to. Whereas we never had that before. So it was only the various little churches that are around, which aren't too many now. You know, they're all slowly going down. You know, as luck would have it, the two I'm with, Hackbridge and Wimbledon, are still very strong.
Yes.
And you know, as long as the Robinsons are there, it can only get stronger. You know, because they have got a very strong belief in where the church is and where it's going.
Yeah.
And you know, without them, you know, and even the youngsters, Ashley and Rachel, they're all there pushing. You know, and it all stemmed from their grandfather Derek.
Yeah. And
you've got Ray and his wife Jackie. I mean, it's like a real big family affair, and they do push forward, and they find people like Ivan Lee, myself, you know, Graham Watson, and all the other fantastic mediums that have gone through those churches. They find them and they help them out. Derek and Cora, you know, Spirit Quest, all that. You know, it's great things that they do, and bringing it to people.
Yes.
And they don't push it down your throat. You know, so you either like it or you don't. There's a lot of fun involved with it. You know, it's not like, oh, you mustn't drink, you mustn't do this. On the Spirit weekends away, you sit down, have a lovely meal, you have a nice drink with friends that you can chat to, and they have little shows going on during the day and in the evening.
The Spirit Seeker you're talking about,
Yeah, I mean, it's fantastic.
Life after death, what's your interpretation of that? What do you think it's like?
Well, there was a great interpretation at one point when they said there's no such thing as heaven and earth, heaven and hell. Heaven and hell is here during your lifetime.
Right. Yeah.
You can either make it hell or you can make it heaven.
That's right.
Which I quite like. I think, you know, it's true really. You know, if you're a nasty person, and then we go to the laws of karma. If you're a nasty person, nasty things happen to you. If you're a good person, good things happen to you. And we're all back to the heaven and hell thing. And I quite like that sort of thinking. But to me, I think it's energy. You know, I think it is, heaven and hell is here on this planet, and you know, things happen for certain reasons. I think we're guided through by maybe one being I don't know, but we are definitely guided through. And then when this part of our lives finish and we go onto another side, which is a dimension, I feel, which is a power thing, like an electric current. You know, you can't see electricity, but it's there.
No,
you know,
that's right.
And I think you know, everyone can explain everything about our bodies. They can explain our brain. They can explain how our heart works, how our liver functions, kidney functions, and but they can't explain how how we have independent thoughts, where they come from. And this is ours. This comes from us, our power pack, so to speak. And when we die, I think that energy has to go somewhere else. It can't just stay here, and that's where it goes. I don't think it necessarily goes to heaven or hell. It doesn't matter how evil you are, you still end up in the same place.
You do.
But you don't end up as the same person.
No.
And, you know, there's things like old souls and all that, and I think it's just when you're born, when another subject is born, they either take your energy up or they have their own energy. And I think that's how it works. So when you say, oh, he's an old soul, which it is. I've seen with I've got 4 children, and you know, a couple of them, I looked in their eyes and I thought, you've been here before. Yeah.
So explain God to me, God source.
Well, God, I mean, that's the powerful source, isn't it?
It is.
That's the energy. That's, you know, we call it God. It may not necessarily be what we read in the books about it.
No, not the man with the white beard.
No, not the man with the white beard and the big stick pointing his finger. But I think there is a source, an energy source out there. Yeah. It could be the energy from all our lives, or all our past lives, all our going there to make one mess, and you know, I think that's where it comes. You know, that's how I think of it. It's just it's an energy source, which is there. It's just something we don't know.
What's the difference between an earthbound spirit and a spirit that has crossed over?
Well, I think an earthbound spirit is either looking after someone, or they have a problem, or they had a problem here, so they're kept here for some reason or other.
Right.
And a spirit that goes across, this is all my thoughts on it. I think a spirit that goes across is a higher being anyway, and it's fulfilled all the problems that it's taken on in its life. I mean, I believe we're here. We do come back, as I said, with our power source. And I think every time you come back, you correct something in your own power source to make you into a bigger being. Whereas the next time you go, you don't come back, you go straight across. And I think this is where this thing about light comes in. You know, you go towards the light. And I think when you reach the light, you're there. And the people that don't reach the light have to do the other cycle. There's something that's been damaged by either them or someone else that's been close to them, and it has to be corrected, or they've left someone behind that can't cope with anything. I think it's a two-stage thing. I think when you die, you always look after your loved ones. You know, you're always there to look after them. And I think if they're not coping, you stay there for as long as you can to keep them there, and then, you know, if you have to do another cycle, you do another cycle. But I think there is a point when you finish it, you know, and go through the light, and you're there.
Yeah.
And what happens there, no one knows.
Well, does that explain, like, places that are haunted because they're stuck?
Well, yeah, I think, you know, I'm not sure. It's a really weird thought I have about haunting places. I mean, it's usually places where some tragedy has happened, and I think it comes from the building itself as well. You know, it's an evil place. You know, simply I can feel some evil here, you know, and all that. Or it's a very heavy atmosphere, and I think, you know, it's the building or the material around you or whatever. You know, it could be a painting that's been involved with it. And I think it just picks up the energy of that, picks up the energy that's been evil, and that's where it gets locked.
Right.
And how you release that, I don't know, maybe it's with the God energy, you know, you use to push it out, or correct, or try and correct what's been going on by throwing your heart in it, your love, and what we call a God light, which is, you know, gold light that comes through. Doing that, I mean, that's how I would do it, you know, if I was involved in anything like that. Yeah. And I believe things do pick up energy.
Yeah,
you know,
of course.
Because it's all energy. Wherever you look at, you know, television, cupboard, whatever, it's all got its own energy, because that's what makes it solid. You know, that's how it works.
That's right.
And I think it just picks up and gets stuck in there for some reason. I think evil is quite a strong energy. You know, as they say, it takes more to be angry, more energy to be angry than it does to be happy. Yeah. And I think that applies to everything. You know, if you're evil, it just takes it and grabs it, because it's quite a strong energy.
It is.
You just got to clean that energy. That's my take.
Yeah. Now, what's the most memorable experience you've ever had?
Most memorable? What, spiritually?
Yeah, spiritually.
It's sort of seeing my uncle as well. You know, when he died, I had a message back from him through me, if you can understand that.
Yeah.
I had a message back from him, and it was so pertinent, and it's things that I didn't know that I had to explain to me by my mum. Yeah. It's her brother, and you know, that rang true to me, and I thought, well, that's, you know, it's all these. Because you do, sometimes in your life, whether you're a medium or not, you get little jolts of, you know, it's really happening, this is it. And people on the other side do sort of send you a little note to say, oh, it's all going well, and this is why. Yeah. And that's what I find memorable. It's nice to know it's all working out. Yeah. Because you do tend to have years where you're like that, and then you go down, and
that's right.
You sit there and you think, oh, nothing's happening, you know, nothing's moved very much. All of a sudden, bang, it comes out of nowhere, and it's like a little present. It's like when we were in circle, they used to say, all right, now, so you know, go to your guides and ask him, you know, to show you something, and they say, what have you got? And they come back with all these presents. You know, it could be a jewel, it could be fire, it could be, you know,
yeah,
energy.
that's right.
And that's what it is. It's like having a little present, you know, just as a thank you card.
Yeah, which is nice.
Which is, yeah, everyone loves that.
Now, we've touched on this as well. So you're doing Spirit Seeker next year.
Yeah.
In March. And you also, you do Sundays at Wimbledon Church? Is that what you said?
Yeah, with Shirley, Monica is working. She lets me step in a couple of times, you know. Okay. So I'd sort of help out a little bit. Well, I don't help out, she helps me. I step in, you know, it allows me to get onto the platform, because it's something I try and, well, I've been avoiding. But, you know, I'm doing more and more of it.
Yeah.
It's usually at Wimbledon. And I think I've got a couple of things at Hackbridge at some point next year.
Oh, next year.
Yeah, not this year, unfortunately, but next year with Jackie. And
is it workshops or just platform?
No, just platform.
Platform.
Yeah. So on a few, there's a tea afternoon, or a psychic lunch, I think they call it.
Oh, that's right. Yes, they have that.
And I'll be doing one of those with Jackie next year, which is nice. You know, this is what I like. You know, it's the informal things I like, and you know, people enjoying spiritualism as opposed to the hardcore singing hymns and sitting there, because sometimes it's not always for some people.
No, that's right.
And it's nice to make it a little bit light-hearted.
So, what will you be doing at Spirit Seeker? Is it workshops? Or?
Yeah, no, I'll just be doing readings.
Readings?
Yeah, I think we do. I think it's a 15 to 20-minute reading.
Yeah.
In the foyer usually. In the warm foyer.
Yeah.
But it worked very well last year.
Yeah. Was it busy?
Yeah. Most of the readers were kept on their toes.
That's good.
And because it's also quite painful as well, because you get other mediums, and you have to give a reading to a medium. That's real pressure.
Well, it challenges you, you know.
Well, that's right. No, it's lovely, you know, especially if you can come up and help them out.
Yeah. Are there any last words of advice for people that want to embark on this journey?
Yeah, it's not an easy journey, but it can be fun. You know, you meet a lot of people, and it's interesting. You know, I don't be frightened of it. You know, it's not a frightening subject. I don't think I've ever been frightened of any spirit, whether it's been attacking me or whether it's been friendly. Because as they say, it's an old adage, you know, only the living can hurt you.
Thank you so much.